What do you think's going on here?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, right? And
I would think this seems like something out of The Onion. Like, there's no way.
And so when you look at Best Buy, it's declines, and it's there are a whole bunch of other competitive issues at play there, where something like Amazon creeps in, something like that. To be
that
clear,
was a bad example because only 50,000 buyers for Salon.
but to be clear, these are still growing markets.
Right.
The growth rates just aren't what they were.
Right.
And IDC estimates that the global smartphone market in 2015 grew 9.8%. Growth was over 20% in 2014 year over year. So this is actually the first year of single-digit percentage growth year over year in the smartphone market globally. And so I think there's a couple things you can look at here as reasons for why this is happening. One of the big things, like as you alluded to in our intro here, is saturation with the market. Like we talked about, everyone that has a smartphone at this point, for the most part.
Yeah. I've had one since, when did you get your first one?
Probably 4 years ago.
I got mine, I think it might have been
iPhone.
5, and I actually kind of got it because all my coworkers and I kind of had to because everybody else had it. So, yeah.
And the market is much more developed here in the U.S., but part of the reason that we saw such explosive growth in 2014, 2013 was some of the developing parts of the world, China in particular. There were a lot of first-time buyers that were, getting these devices. And so, you think about the typical refresh cycle, the particular upgrade cycle for a lot of these devices, usually 2 years, 2.5 years, 3 years.
Right.
And so knowing that 2014 was a particularly big year for sales, it's not surprising that 2015 is a little weak. So that's one of the things. I think one of the other big trends is obviously we're kind of in the mid-upgrade wave for Apple products. Like you said, the most recent product release was in the fall with 6S. We will be expecting the iPhone 7 to be coming out this year in the fall. And so, that's keeping with the typical calendar that Apple releases a new major upgrade to its line every 2 years.
Isn't it funny that that's where I immediately went when you're talking about lackluster sales and smartphones? It's like, wait a minute, when did the iPhone,
Yeah, I mean, it's a major barometer, right? And, granted, like the 6S had some cool new features, 3D touch, live photo, stuff like that, but consumers know that the big changes come when the number changes on the device, know, and so I think that maybe the second half of 2016 will bode a little bit better for this market.
My mother just got the 6S, and there was some debate. I mean, she really wanted the newer one, but there was some debate like, okay, should we wait for the 7? You know. Anyway,
I couldn't wait.
Yeah, I know you couldn't. You were so happy that day too.
I was giddy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And lastly, I mean, these are tough comps to be going up against. Like I talked about, the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus, which was Apple's first foray into the phablet market, did remarkably well. They were just awesome products. They sold tons of devices. And so you are going up against really tough year-over-year comparisons in 2016.
Right.
And so, that's particularly difficult. So all that said, I think there are a few things to watch here. Most of the pessimism that I've seen, particularly that coming from Apple suppliers, is really confined to like the first half of 2016, which isn't surprising because, like I said, the iPhone update will be coming out in the second half of 2016. So the second half should be much stronger. We'll get some insight from Apple as to what they expect for the year in terms of guidance. At the end of this month, they report earnings. And so we'll get some color there in addition to what they've done in the past with the holiday season and everything like that. But I think one of the most interesting things, kind of Apple trying to get ahead of some of these trends and trying to maybe push the upgrade cycle faster than the 2.5 years to 3 years that some consumers seem to be on, is the Apple iPhone upgrade program.
Right.
Where it's, you pay the monthly, $30 or so, and you can upgrade, yearly.
Do you think that's a good deal?
We did the math on it. I mean, if you're someone that actively wants the best model and you are divorced from a carrier subsidy model, then it's not bad. Yeah. And that is one other thing that I think also comes into play with a lot of these numbers is you look at some of the major carriers, like, I mean, you know the space a little bit better than I do, but most of them are moving away from allowing new customers to sign up for
it was a
subsidy
big
plan.
deal when Verizon did it. I knew that big things are happening because a little over a year ago when I was doing this same show with Nathan Hamilton, he started talking to me about what T-Mobile was doing this, and I'm like, I should switch to T-Mobile. Yeah. I switched to T-Mobile from Verizon because of the show and everything. Yeah. And then I didn't realize how big a deal or how quickly it would happen because now they're all. I mean, Sprint's begging for my mother-in-law to stay with them. I mean, all kinds of stuff. So
Yeah, even doing the before we started doing the show, before we came down to the studio, talking with Christine Harji is the healthcare editor.
That's right, folks. We do talk to each other.
She said, "Oh, you guys are talking about iPhone update rates. Like I've had the same. She has an iPhone 5. I've had the same iPhone for like 3 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, do you not have a subsidy through your carrier? She's like, no. So I don't really want to pay the $650 or so that it would cost to get a new phone. And I think that that's one of the issues with all the carriers moving away from subsidy is a lot of people are so ingrained into that thought of like, okay, this new phone will cost me $150 through my plan, and then you see the actual retail sticker price that phone is worth, and without the subsidy model, you're paying $650. You're like, man, that's a lot of money.
That was the thing that happened when I went in and did the T-Mobile switch because the one way they can mitigate that is just no interest, 2 years, you pay off the phone, so it's $650 divided by 24 months, and I'm paying $28 I think a month. The second that ends, my cell phone bill gets really cheap, and it's going to be awesome. But then I'm going to want the new iPhone.
Yeah, they're going to drop some new features.
No. They're going to give me some wireless headphones and all this stuff, and game over.